Hello, welcome to How to Succeed in Business During a Pandemic. I'm Wendy Lalli, your host, and I'm so glad you could drop in today. We've got a really good show. By the way, let me explain the premise of the show. I'm going to be interviewing some very interesting entrepreneurs, professionals, people that all have their own businesses and are not only surviving this pandemic, are actually thriving in this pandemic. Because let's face it, this is a challenging time for everyone. And we thought it would be interesting to have a show that highlighted what some people are doing that might help other people, namely you. So that's what the show's about. And we're going to be meeting these folks for 15 minutes every week. And some of them are coming back, like the young fellow who's joining us today, because he's actually our producer of the show and was largely responsible for this happening. His name is Mike Rataj, and he is a videographer, a drummer, a writer, an artist, an all-around creative person. But that's not how he started out. And that's why I wanted to kick off the show with him today, because all of the stuff that's going on right now in the middle of, I call it the era of COVID-19, is really about our adapting ourselves to a new reality. So we're all going through a transition, and Mike is the master of transition. So and before I introduce him, no, I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Wendy Lalli. My business is marketing. I'm a marketing strategist, and that's why this show was such a natural fit for me, because I not only get to meet interesting people that are, in some cases, marketing themselves, in other cases, use my services, but I get to introduce them to you, so you can learn from them and share the insights that they've gathered over the years. And with that, I'm going to introduce Mike. Hi, Mike. Welcome aboard.
Hi, Wendy. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. I don't know what I'd do without you, literally. Okay. I'd like to start the show off, Mike, with your telling people about your business, Bulb Brain Creative, all those B's, and tell them what you do and the history of your business, and also, how you came to do it.
So BulbBrain is a video and marketing production company. I realized that a lot of people need help with social media. They need help with the digital aspect of distributing the content that they have, and then they actually need the creative ideas to make either a funny commercial or some kind of informative video. And so I realized that my passion is ideas and collaboration. And so,
speaking of that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your schooling and the course of study you took, and what happened when you got out of school?
So I just kind of want to preface all this by saying I believe in that your network is your net worth thing. And I think that's where a lot of my life, that's how my life unfolded. So I went to college to be an animator and a filmmaker. So I studied film, and I loved it, and it was great. I really enjoyed editing. I really enjoyed shooting. But the second I left college, I had an internship where you make no money. And when you're in your early 20s and you want to get going, you want to get your apartment, you want to start living a life because you feel like things are going to be over in like 2 years, which is ridiculous. But so then I reached into my network and I said, I need something else. I started with a friend who got me a temp job, just random stuff. I just found my network and I said, I'm looking for stuff. So I got a random temp job, and then eventually I found someone they were looking for a junior position in mortgages. So that's where I learned phone sales. I did 3 or so years there, just calling 30 to, then it was probably like 70 people a day. Just seeing how many accounts you can get. There's like always the ratios where you need like 20 in the pipeline because 10 will fall out. So that's where I understood metrics, basically, because you kind of live your life through sales managers and metrics. So after a couple of years in the mortgage industry, I was realizing I enjoyed the economic aspect of it. I enjoyed talking to people. I'd never done sales before in my life, but all of a sudden, 7 months later, I got myself a condo, so it worked. Like I was into it, and so I got it. So it was probably a little longer than that, but still, it was. You get addicted to those kind of things, and it was like, this is fun. So there was another. This was an uncle who had a friend that was looking for a junior position in a futures brokerage shop. So I needed a license. So I was still working mortgages. I'd come home after my 12-hour shift and study for my Series 3 and Series 4 until 34 until like 2 in the morning. Wake up at 7, go back, do mortgages 12 hours a day, study. I was just exhausted. But thankfully, I passed the test. I think 1 or 2 tries. Got into trading, 8 years as a retail futures broker. That's how I did it. My son was born. I kind of had a life-changing event. So I left trading to start this services business, do a couple different creative things. Ball Brain Gallery, which is where my name came from. I started online leadership to develop a branding. I figured if I can't become a brand myself, I shouldn't be able to pitch it. So I started an online gallery to become a thought leader. And then from there, I started selling video and social media services to people. So just kind of testing along the way, see what works, and uphill.
It's so interesting. People think of themselves as, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to become this. And then they get out of college and reality hits and you have to actually earn a living. Mm-hmm. And you wanted a family, so you had to find a way of supporting them. And then you get into the groove doing something. And I think you must have had a sense of accomplishment when you got good at selling.
Oh, yeah.
So that kind of holds you, keeps you locked in place in a way. But at the same time, we always learn from whatever it is we do, even if it's not directly connected to what we want to do or even what we're doing. Nothing is ever wasted or lost.
No.
That's my feeling.
Everyone was it was sales against marketing. I was like, that seems like the most, aren't we the same thing? Isn't that the point? Shouldn't we be all together to move it forward? And
that's just always, I don't know what, it's like boys against the girls. I mean, it's always there. And my feeling about it was the same. I wanted to know what the salespeople knew because they're the front line. They face the customer. Mm-hmm. So what are they hearing that they could communicate to me that I could give back to them?
Right.
As a reason for someone to make the sale, to take the bait, whatever it was. So
yeah. But humans are just so good at fighting. We're just so good at fighting that we don't want to put differences beside ourselves, and we just would rather fight than collaborate. So
all of that is absolutely fascinating, and I think it explains a lot about you, namely your not only an intuitive understanding of marketing, but this on the line, on real life training, because if you're a front person, you're the frontline salesperson, you really know what works and what doesn't work. And I can see salespeople wanting to say to the marketing person, why do you keep saying this thing is cheaper when people I'm selling to know it's not? But you should say it's better and it's worth the money.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Okay, so all that. Tell me, what kind of clients do you work with now, and how do you help them?
Let's see. So I have a presentation on Friday that's going to be fun. It's for lawyers. It's for a big lawyer group. So I did a couple gigs with this lawyer that's hosting it. So I think with my background in the financial industry, I think lawyers and other financial people are a really good fit for me.
I know you run a wonderful networking group, and that I just love. I love joining it because it's just full of friendly people like yourself and others, and it's just fun. And I wondered, how did you start that, and why did you start it?
Networking. This is going back even for, when I decided I'm going to make a business. I went to Facebook and I typed in networking, and I saw that Cup of Joe's event. For us, this is where you and I met.
Right.
I think originally at Cup of Joe's, and which is basically this networking event that was happening right near my house. And so I figured it was a Monday morning. I didn't know anybody. There was like 4 people that said they were interested. I was like, so no one's going to be there. I walk in, there's 30 people, clearly everyone's best friends. And I'm just like, okay, I'm this random dude on my first day out. What? So that started it. And that was kind of one of my points that I wanted to at least get across on this show, is that for anyone that's going through any kind of transition, like, you just have to get out of your comfort zone and start meeting new people. Like, the only reason I'm here is I went to that event. And somehow 3 years later, hundreds of networking events. The other thing about my career is I started as a retail futures broker in 2008, which was the worst time to be in any financial industry. So, I mean, it's not like I walked into being a futures broker and it was like, oh, here's money. It was like, oh, the biggest moves in the S&P, in 30 years are now happening when I got to call people and be like, hey, can I get like $5,000 to trade an account? And they're like, did you see the S&P today? Like down 1,000, like, what, are you crazy? So, I mean, we're calling it pandemic, but I started in a recession. I mean, they're all depression, recession, some kind of, but yeah, we would call them pullbacks in trading. Like, you got an uptrend, you see a big drop. But this pullback that's where your life flashes before your eyes, and you need to look internally and be like, okay, what do I do? So that's where I wanted to say, look to your network as well, and focus on whatever new skills you can. If it's making your current job better because you see it'll switch, or if you need to just jump ship, like, we're producing a show now on Zoom. Like, this is now a radio and video show that, because I haven't been able to meet people and do video in person. So I think it may take brainstorming. Obviously, it need some other people to help you, but I think that's where, if you have a network of people you could go and have a beer or coffee with, then you'll get those ideas, because that's when I get mine. So
the last interview I did was with Olya, and her restaurant opened in 2008. It had opened, and 2 months later, everything went flat. So, and she managed to stay afloat, and she said the same thing. This is what it felt like. So what do you do now?
Cut costs. You got to cut as many costs as possible. This is when you got to do those lean times. And then that's why 6 months ago we were living high and mighty. So this is the cycle.
And I think that's the thing to keep in our heads is, as bad as this is, and God knows it's bad, but we've been through things before, and we'll probably be through things again. So you just kind of pull your big boy pants up and you get in it, get right to it.
Keep moving.
And you will get through it with your friends, with their help. I just want to thank all of you for stopping by and for supporting the show. We certainly appreciate your interest. We hope we're helpful to you. And I especially want to thank Mike, because Mike is the person who puts all this stuff together after I do the interview. And he's going to be joining us again, because he's got a lot of advice to offer us on social media and videography. And so it's really important for people to get it in their heads. Video is not a luxury anymore. It's becoming the accepted norm to communicate. I keep saying, if you're not in the virtual world, you are not in the world. If you're not in the world that moves, it doesn't count. So social media is our new word of mouth. You've heard that expression, the word of mouth is the best kind of advertising. Well, so is social media. So you're going to learn all of about those things in coming shows. Okay, until the next time, I just want to wish all of you well. I look forward to seeing you again. I hope you feel the same. Stay well. And look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you. And thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Wendy. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.